shiru, Mizmor shiru l'Adonai, shir chadash, ki niflaot asa, Oshia lo yamino zroa kodsho dia, Adonai Yeshuato, le'nei hagoyim gilad tzidkato, zachar chasto ve'emunato, le'beit Yisrael, ra'u chol asei haaretz, et Yeshuat Eloheinu, hariu l'Adonai kol haaretz, yitzchu v'ranenu v'zamei, yalalai, 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 on the top of 134, Zamru l'Adonai. Zameru l'Adonai bechinor, bechinor v'kol zimra. Zameru l'Adonai bechinor, bechinor v'kol zimra. Zameru, zamru, l'Adonai. Zameru, zamru, l'Adonai. Zameru l'Adonai bechinor, bechinor v'kol zimra. Zameru l'Adonai bechinor, bechinor v'kol zimra. Zameru, zamru, l'Adonai. Zameru, zamru, l'Adonai. One more time. Zameru l'Adonai bechinor, bechinor v'kol zimra. Zameru l'Adonai bechinor, bechinor v'kol zimra. We'll turn to Lecha Dodi, page 138, having warmed up on what kind of feels like a roller coaster in some ways of Kabbalat Shabbat. We've had our ups, we've had our downs, and now we're at the peak of this part of our service with Lecha Dodi. And I don't, on our little screen here, because the internet is out, the time hasn't moved since 7:56. So it's like time has stopped for Shabbat. There's something in there. Oh, Lecha Dodi likrat kala, bnei Shabbat mekabela. Oh, Lecha Dodi likrat kala, bnei Shabbat mekabela. Verse 1. Shamor bezachor alive. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באורך קומי אורי, אורי אורי, שדברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה, הולך הדודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת לקבלה, הולך הדודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת לקבלה. בואי ושלום, עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה, בואי חלה, בואי חלה, הולך הדודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת לקבלה, הולך הדודי לקראת כלה, בני שבת לקבלה.
Remain standing, page 263, Chatzi Kaddish.
יתגדל ויתקדש שם רבה,
אמן.
ואלמד יברכרותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון, ובחיי תכל בית ישראל, בגלה בגלה, ובזמן קריב ואמרו, אמן. יהי שמרם המברך, לעולם עולם מעמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתבהר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתחלש מדקות שבריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תוש וחתה ונחמתה דל מירן בעלמה וימרו אמן. ברכו את אדוני המבורך.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Leolam Vaed.
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד.
Please be seated. A prayer for evening, page 265. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam, Asher bidbaro ma'ariv arabim, b'chokhmah poteach sha'arim, ובתבונה משנה עתים ומחליף את הזמנים ומסדר את הכוכבים במשנותיהם ברקיע כרצונו. בורא יום ולילה, גולל אור מפני חושך וחושך מפני אור, ומעביר יום ומביא לילה, ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה, אדוני צבאות שמו.
אל חי וקיים, תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני, המעריב ערבים. אהבת עולם, בית ישראל, עמך אהבת. תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו לימדת. על כן אדוני אלוהינו, בשוכבנו ובקומנו, נשיח בחוקך, ונשמח בדברי תורתך, ובמצוותיך, לעולם לעולם ועד. כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו, ובהם נגה יומם ולילה, ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha bechol levavcha ubechol nafshecha ubechol me'odecha. Ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi metzavecha hayom al levavecha. Veshinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam. Veshivtecha beveitecha ulechtecha baderech ושוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Amen. We'll sing a song of redemption, page 270, Michamocha.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש. נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה. מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקע ים לפני משה ומרים. זה לי ענו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך, אדוני ימלוך, לעולם ועד. ונאמר, כי פדה אדוני את יעקב, וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני,
שמו.
גאל ישראל. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, לשלום, והעמידנו שומרנו לחיים. ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך, ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך. ברוך אתה אדוני, הפורס סוכת שלום, עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל, ועל ירושלים.
So we're in the midst of that period of the Jewish calendar, the modern Jewish calendar that we call the Yoms. Yom HaShoah, Yom HaZikaron, Yom HaAtzmaut. And then we can add to that Yom Imah, Mother's Day as well. Yom Imah, yeah, why not? It is something I think about Western culture, or maybe just human beings in general, that we, in the cycle of a year, we set aside one day to commemorate or to acknowledge something. But in Judaism, of course, we recognize that that cycle can be much shorter than one day. But Shabbos comes, every 7 days. And we set aside that time to sanctify and to acknowledge the cycle of the week, the days that have been normal or normative, that have been exhausting in their own ways, and then to restore and refresh ourselves, to rededicate ourselves to the sanctity of the moment. Not that different than the Yoms, but on a more recurring schedule. Our rabbis teach that while we might want to live in Shabbos all the time, while we might want to always be in that Shabbos mode, we can't. We have to end Shabbat by Wednesday. You can extend it all the way Saturday evening as long as you keep Shabbos past the 3 stars in the sky, but you have to end by Wednesday so that you can begin again by Friday evening. And so we learn in this, I think, both in the lesson of the Yoms and the lesson of Shabbos, that there needs to be beginnings and ends. There needs to be moments that we sanctify and acknowledge. I'm going to talk about that a bit more in our drash. But they don't have to be a year apart. That in fact, at various moments throughout our year or throughout our week, we can set aside time to acknowledge the sacred, to remember loved ones. It is only that we might let an entire year go by without doing it, that these rituals have come in. It's not that there is just one day to remember the Shoah or those fallen in Israel's wars or Israel's independence. We could remember that every day, but we should set aside one day for it to be a particularly special occasion, in most cases a solemn gathering. And so too with Shabbos. We can live with an eye toward Shabbos, but not always live in Shabbos. We can live preparing or recovering from, or maybe not recovering, but feeling rejuvenated and restored from, and preparing for. So be ever aware of those cycles in our life. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael, the children of Israel shall keep and guard the Sabbath, page 272.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל, ביני ובין בני ישראל, ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם. Yum ba da 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 da, Shabbat Shabbat, yum ba da 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 da, Shabbat Shabbat, yum ba da 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 da, Shabbat Shabbat, Shabbat Shabbat Shalom. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש. יום בלילה, שבת שבת, יום בלילה, שבת שבת, יום בלילה, שבת שבת, שבת שבת shalom.
One of my earliest memories of being in synagogue was my home congregation was also Temple Sholom in Millbrae, California, Burlingame technically. Rabbi Jerry Raskin, Leva Shalom, was the rabbi, big voice of God kind of figure. And I remember sitting in synagogue with a little white earbud in my ear. This is back in the transistor radio days. Remember the big white thing with the cord? And the Giants were playing the Dodgers, I think, in the playoffs, and they scored. And I screamed out, yes! And Rabbi Raskin looked at me and said, Danny, put away the radio, but tell us the score first. So as I look to my son who keeps holding up fingers, it's an important role of the rabbi's kids, so thank you for that. We will continue with page 273, we rise, Adonai Sefatai Tiftach.
Adonai Sfatai Tiftach, Adonai Sfatai Tiftach, Ufi Yagid Tehilatecha, Ufi Yagid Tehilatecha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor ve'hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Bekoneh Hakol, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי מתים אתה רב להושיע, מוריד הטל, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים, תומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומדומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה ונאמן אתה לחיות מתים. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי המתים. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
Please be seated. Page 279, Ritzeh.
רצה אדוני אלוהינו בעמך ישראל, ותפילתם באהבה תקבל, ותהי לרצון תמיד עבודת ישראל. ישראל עמך, אל קרוב לכל קורב, פני אל עבדיך וחוננו, שפוך רוחך עלינו, ותחזינה עינינו, בשובך לציון, ברחמים. ברוך אתה אדוני המחזיר שכינתו לציון.
From time to time on quiet Shabbatot such as this with no B'nai Mitzvah, no big speakers or things going on, it's just us in shul, we can take a moment to really thank God for the blessings in our lives. And so I want to invite anyone who would like to share something good, because we could all use a little bit of good news. Something good, a blessing that has happened in your life, a simcha you're celebrating, just a thing that has taken place maybe since the last time you were in shul that you can share with us, or something maybe that's even coming up. Who has something good to share? A blessing in your life?
I can start.
Please,
Okay, then
can't it go?
Well, I'm finally getting a dog.
You are,
After so
yes.
many years. Next week.
Next week. And then the dog's name is?
Bella.
Bella. Hannah? You get to walk again. Hannah's on her third knee surgery. Some people wait till they're 80 for that. So, yes, 2 weeks till walking, right? Fantastic. David?
We went down to Irvine, and I reconnected with a friend I haven't seen since we both got married, and it was his daughter's bat mitzvah, so it was really nice.
How lovely.
I came out thinking that your services are better than theirs.
No, don't say. I know the rabbi in Irvine, so. Was it? I don't even want to know, because my best friend is a rabbi in Irvine. Anyone? You'll tell me later. Anyone else? We went to a family, extended family bat mitzvah at my former congregation this past weekend as well. It's a family that they have 3 children, 3 girls who were all born within 2 weeks of our own 3 children. So we've really journeyed through life together. This was their last child's bat mitzvah, and it was lovely. It was great to be with them, and even in my former congregation to see some old friends. It was lovely. Anyone else? Simchas or celebrations, joys? We'll leave the oys for another time. David?
It's a little tidbit, but about an hour after I sent an email to the Vancouver mayor, city council, thanking them for lighting up blue and white City Hall,
Yeah.
Street Bridge, I got a reply from one of the councilors
Yeah.
with full-throated support for the idea.
That's fantastic. That's great. Yeah, I was with a lot of them last night at a Vancouver Police Foundation, and they were getting a ton of emails not in favor of the lighting, and so I'm glad we could support them. So, for anyone else? For all of those things, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hatov v'hametiv. Blessed you are, Adonai, our God, creator of the universe, for all that is good and wonderful in our lives. Amen.
Amen.
We'll continue, page 282, a song for peace.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha tasim leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha tasim leolam. Ki ata melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki ata melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. B'tov beinecha levarech et amcha Yisrael bechol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Tasim leolam. Tasim leolam.
We'll take a moment for Tefillat Shabbat, private prayers and meditations of the heart. This time we offer prayers of healing for those who are sick and in need of healing. We ask God's blessing of healing upon Stanley Garfinkel, Maury Dozer, Sherry Fiedler, Lucy Tamayo, Frederick Farhado, Marina, Karen Bernstein, Esther Brower, Max Koningbauer, Shannon Wall, Itamar Ben Ruth, Reuven Pinchas Ben Zara, Adele, Miriam, Virginia Edwards, Nini Rosticker Shipman, Yeshayahu, Natalie Warmelli, Claire Columbia, Carla Zivit, Janet Gelb, David Shlomo Gorney, Andrea Yarsbiak. If there are others in need of this prayer for healing, I invite you to call their names out one by one. We'll join with our cantor, page 371, Misha Berach, a prayer for healing.
Misha of strength, who bless the ones before us. Help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misheberach imotenu ekor Abraham lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Thank you, Cantor Cohen. Thank you to our band. No, you're the band. It's great to have the band.
Small
back
but
together.
mighty.
Small but mighty. All right. Annette, thank you both very, very much. And Bruno, I hope you make it, or I hope you went home, or I don't know, one or the other. Hope you're still not on the bus. That's the most important thing. We have lots going on at the congregation. Tomorrow morning, in addition to Torah study at 8:30, tomorrow at 10, of course, is Shabbat services. Bella Sherman will be celebrating her 90th birthday. She'll be reading Torah and delivering the drash, and we have a special birthday Kiddush lunch for Bella, so come join us and celebrate Bella and just celebrate Shabbat together. Rabbi Brown's not here right now because we are also at this point running an grade 8-9 retreat up in Whistler. She and I are going to switch places tomorrow after services. And then on Sunday, religious school, and then following religious school in the evening. I think it's 7 or is it 7:30 Yom HaZikaron? I think it's 7. There's a sign outside. Yom HaZikaron memorial service will be here at Temple Sholom for the entire community. We do expect a large crowd, so please come and join us as we mourn together as a community. And then the following evening, I think also at 7 or 7:30 at Beth Israel, is Yom HaAtzmaut. Important for our community to be together as well. Also on Sunday at 2 o'clock is our annual, or not annual, I should say, our weekly rally to free the hostages, and we hope that you can join us for that as well. That's at the Art Gallery. There's a whole bunch of stuff coming up. Our Shalom Shishim games will be continuing on Tuesdays, but that's this Tuesday we're going to have that?
Yes.
Yes, this Tuesday, canasta, Scrabble, Mahjong, Bridge. No poker, though. We got to get some poker in there. I don't know what that was. Okay. You will be getting a letter, an email from the congregation very soon with our announcement about our congregational annual general meeting. You hopefully have already seen the announcement, but more details to come. That is on June 4th at 7 o'clock here at the temple. More things happening. Wednesday, May 15th is Appies and Yappies, a meetup at Havana on Commercial Drive. That's for our sisterhood. And next Friday, you hopefully saw this that came out as well. Member of Parliament Anthony Housefather, a Jewish member of Parliament from Mount Royal in Quebec, will be speaking here at 5 o'clock. That's before Shabbos. So it's not Quebec, Arthur? It's Quebec. Sorry? Côte Saint-Louis. Okay. One of those places over in that province. He'll be speaking at 5 o'clock. It'll end at 6:30. There'll be time for you to go home and have Shabbos dinner and either not come back or come back at 8 o'clock. That's open to the entire community. It should be a very interesting presentation by the Member of Parliament. Also that evening, we have 2 services going on. There's a neurodiverse Shabbat service for those who have children or families with neurodiverse children. That's going to be in our chapel. It'll be a very different kind of service. And then our regular 8 o'clock service is happening here. So lots going on at the synagogue next Shabbos. I'll leave the rest for another time. Any other announcements?
After services tomorrow, there's going to be a queer tourist gathering. So
I wasn't on here.
you are, and anyone you know is interested, you feel free to invite them.
Thank you. So the center of all things, or the center of things, is often the most important of things. If you're a writer, you know that in a play or a story, it's the rising action and the climax that sit in the center of those things. In physics, it would be the center of gravity that holds and pulls things together. In an Oreo cookie, it would be the white, frosty inside. And in the Torah, it's the Torah portion that we're going to read tomorrow morning that we're going to chant Kedoshim. Now, there's lots of different ways to count the center of Torah. And if you count word by word or verse by verse, it doesn't get you to Kedoshim. But if you count book by book, Leviticus being the middle book and Kedoshim being middle parsha of that middle book, then you're at the center, the Oreo, the sweet Oreo cookie center of Torah, if you would. And the core of Kedoshim, the core of that teaching of Torah is Kedoshim tihiyu ki kadosh ani Adonai Elohechem. You shall be holy, for I, the Lord your God, am holy. But what does it mean to be holy? The conventional definition of Kedusha, of holiness, has to do with separateness. We think about Havdalah, and then we make a Bein Kodesh L'chol, between the holiness of the Shabbat and the ordinariness of the rest of the week. That we set something apart for special purposes. I often define holiness as something that is separated and elevated. That's what makes something holy. When we teach this with the kids, if you remember from Derech LaTorah, some of you were here, we talked about holy ritual objects. And before we talked about Jewish objects, we talked about the holy things that you have in your home. And for many, they said it was their coffee mug. That particular coffee mug that they have to have every morning, that is kadosh. That is holy. And you wouldn't use that for anything other than your coffee, and God forbid somebody else should use it. The Sabbath, of course, is holy. We call it a Shabbat Kodesh, a holy day, a day set aside from the rest of the week. Israel is an Am Kadosh, a holy people, set apart from the other nations of the world for good and for bad. But there's another way to look at the very same phenomenon, the obverse of the same definition. And just look at how the word kadosh or kedusha is used in Jewish life. Think about the Passover Seder that we just celebrated last month. Your family was gathered around the table, the family of your birth or the family of choice that surrounded you and celebrated life with you and shared stories with you, shared laughter, shared tears, the triumphs, the failures of our lives, all gathered around that sacred place, that Makom Kodesh, that Mikdash Me'at. Your table becomes your altar. We raise a cup of wine at Seder and recite a prayer of sanctification. We call that a Kiddush. But it is not the wine that is sacred. The prayer affirms the holiness of that circle that surrounds the table. It affirms the holiness of the moment, of those that are gathered there and why they are gathered there. You're not blessing the wine. You're blessing and sanctifying the moment. The Kiddush, the wine, is just the medium. The blessing is over the people. The bonds that hold us together as family and friends. That prayer is called a Kiddush because gathering is holy. When a wedding is celebrated, what's a wedding called in Hebrew? Kiddushin. Kiddushin, in English you might say holy matrimony. Two separate, independent individuals from different families, different cultures, find wholeness in one another. They pledge to share their life together. A ring is placed on the finger, and that ring is whole. And the ring has no broken parts in it. It is bringing together a ring of whole and unbrokenness, symbolizing lives and dreams indelibly intertwined and linked together. That tightly drawn circle of self is unlocked to include another, whose happiness becomes my happiness, and whose suffering becomes my suffering. And we recite Harei at mikudeshet li, who sanctifies us, who makes us holy, b'taba'adzo, by this ring. With this ring, we are bonded in holiness. When two become one, when divides are crossed and bridges are built, as in a wedding, as in other times, that is holy. When a loved one dies, we refuse to let catastrophe of death be the last word, and we will never sever our bonds of loyalty and love. We will not lose our memories of shared wisdom, of warmth, of strength, of vision. And so we rise in synagogue in the midst of our people, and we recite a prayer that affirms the triumph of life over death, of our hope over despair. And that prayer is called Kaddish, right? To keep memory alive, to stand together when we would otherwise fall apart alone, that is Kadosh. That's holy. Kiddush, Kiddushin, Kaddish, Kadosh, Kedusha, they all mean holiness, and they are all significantly bonding. They all signify bonding. the opening of self to embrace and hold another. Kadosh is not separating, Kadosh is bringing together. Holy is not pulling apart, holy is pulling together. And we all have circles of our own concern. For some, that includes only the self-centered circle, the individual self, and its diameter is incredibly narrow, maybe only the ring on my finger. I'm just worried about me, those that can't see beyond the end of their own nose. For others, that circle includes family, it includes community, it includes the nation. And for a very few, it encompasses the whole of the world. For God, the circle is infinite. The circle of concern is ever expanding. A circle that embraces and cares for all life. An Or Ein Sof, we say, a light without end. The verse of Kedoshim that I was talking about before, it ends, Tihiyu Kadosh, Ani Adonai. You shall be holy, for I, the eternal, your Lord, your God, am holy. The aspiration of Kedusha invites us to a life to be more godly. It invites us to open and widen our circles of concern. The aspiration is rooted in that conviction that the wider our circle, the holier our life becomes. Not separating, but gathering. Not pulling apart, but pulling together. The bigger the circle, the more meaningful the life becomes. Each time the tight circle of self is opened, that is a step closer to holiness, a step closer to godliness. And just a few verses after Kedoshim Tihiyu in Leviticus, in the Bible's highest moral ideal, we find in the center of the center of the center of the center of the thing, in the center of the holiness code, we find Ve'ahavta l'orecha kamocha. You should love your neighbor as yourself. And this is the Torah objective, the divine dream of humanity, that we might come to realize a circle of self that is ever growing, holiness ever expanding, that every human transaction must lead to the realization of a world in which we are one, in a world in which we are bounded together in care and concern, brought together in holiness. And so what is holy? What is kadosh? This right here is holy and kadosh. This feeling, this purpose beyond this sanctuary, beyond this moment, in every place, in every space that people gather together, not just Jewish people, but all people, when they come together and not fall apart. That is holy. When time and experience in our lives bring us together, a shared experience. And so as we find ourselves, as I mentioned before, in the middle of the Yoms, Yom HaShoah, Yom HaZikaron, Yom HaAtzmaut, Yom Imah, my prayer for you and for all of us on this Shabbat is that our circles of concern grow and expand, not separate, but pull together, like Kedusha, like holiness in the world. In this terrible time, to be holy, we must push ourselves to be more compassionate, to be more respectful of human life, to be more holy, to be more godly, and more godlike. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
We're going to continue with the counting of the Omer. And if you turn to your handout, you'll find the blessing that the cantor is going to sing on the front page of that handout.
That's right.
That's right, there it is. And you can also turn to page 570 as well.
Yeah, it's going to be kind of a combo of both of those. You can see from the words on your program, we're going to get into it. We're not just going to say the blessing, but we're going to get ourselves in that mindset to count the Omer, the sacred time between Pesach and Shavuot, where we think about every week ascending on a spiritual level to that place in Shavuot where we are ready to receive Torah. שבריחו ושלינתי, הנני מוכן ומזומן לקיים מצוות עשה של ספירת העומר, של ספירת העומר, של ספירת העומר, של ספירת העומר. שבע שבתות, שבע שבתות, תמימות תהיינה, שבע שבתות, תמימות תהיינה. לילה 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 לילה, לילה לילה לילה, לילה לילה We're ready for the blessing. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu, mitzvotav letzivanu, al sfirat haomer, al sfirat haomer, al sfirat haomer, al sfirat haomer. Hayom 18 yom, shem shnei shavuot, ve'arba yamim ba'omer. Yaila laila yaila laila, yaila laila laila, yaila laila laila, yaila laila laila. Today is 18 days, which are 2 weeks and 4 days of the Omer.
Kind of a special thing when the chai of the Omer falls on Shabbat. So go buy a lottery ticket or something. We'll rise, page 586 for Elenu.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שם לנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויסד הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים עמה, ושכינתו זו בגובה מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אינו עבד מלכנו אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום מחשבות אל לבבך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת. אין עוד. In the middle of page 590. כי המלכות שלך היא, ולעולם ועד תמלוך בכבוד, ככתוב בתורתך, אדוני עמך לעולם ועד, ונאמר כי היה אדוני
A reading before Kadisha at home, the mourner's cottage, page 592. When I die, give what's left of me away to children and old men that wait to die. And if you need to cry, cry for your brother walking the street beside you. And when you need me, put your arms around anyone and give them what you need to give me. I want to leave you something better than words or sounds. Look for me in the people I've known or loved. And if you cannot give me away, at least let me live in your eyes and not in your mind. You can love me best by letting hands touch hands and by letting go of children that need to be free. Love doesn't die. People do. So when all that is left of me is love, give me away. The cottage prayer is on page 598. On this Shabbat, we recall those who died during this past week or these past 30 days, whose families are in the midst of Shiva and Shloshim. As I read the name of your loved one, if you could rise here or at home so we could comfort you in our midst. Hildy Barnett, Rufina Cruz, Reba Diner, Corinne Gumprich, Isabel Ann Ingram Klaber, Dr. Monty Kowal, Maureen Newman, Marilyn Perrin. And those for whom the Yortzeit, the anniversary of the death of your loved one, falls on this Shabbat, if you too could rise and remain standing. David Adarim, Norman Brenner, Solomon Bild, Sam Kleiman, Dorothy Kronk, Wendy Dion, Rosa Duzalak, Dimitri Fixler, Linda Freeman-Katz, Rachmael Glicksberg, Renee Goldberg, Nora Goldstein, Isidore Goldstein, Cecil Groberman, Alter Groner, Saul Gutman, Henry Hister, Eric Jackson, Gregory Kahn, Eudice Kaplan, Gladys Corman, Louis B. Crivel, Bertha Crivel, Joy LeBeau, Lala Ruth Mednick, Sarah Mondlak, Donna Moskowitz, Renee Mutal, Sam Muchnick, Mary Maisko, Rabbi Aaron Pankin, Jan Prinsmetal, Paul Revis, George Edward Robbins, Eileen Rudnutsky, Beverly Rosenzweig, Peter Anthony Ross, Alexander Savin, Ralph Schulman, Gary Joseph Simkin, Sally Stern, Irma Tausig, Emil Tausig, Bud Temple, Judica Tenenbaum, Jeno Tenenbaum, Sari Tenenbaum, Marguerite Tenenbaum, Dulcie Voisin, Blanche Ginger Zuckerman. There are names I've missed or mispronounced. If you come to say Kaddish for any other reason, if you could stand and call their names out one by one as well. Looking around the congregation, seeing those who stood in mourning, we don't want them to stand alone, so we'll stand now by their side, providing the comfort of our presence, and we invite those who wish to join the mourners in Kadisha Tome, page 598, the Mourner's Kaddish. Yit Gadal, Yit Kadash, Shemei Rabbah, Bioma, Divrach, Yerute, Biamlich Malchute, Bechayachon of Yomechon, Ufayed, Achol, Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala, Bizman Kariv, Vimaru, Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabbah Mevarach Leolam Lamei Omaya Yit Barach V'Yish Tabach V'Yit Ba'ar V'Yit Roman V'Yit Naseh V'Yit Adar V'Yit Aleh V'Yit Alal Shemei Kudisha Barichu Le'elam Min Kol Birchata V'Shirata Tush B'Chata V'Nechemata Damiron Be'alma V'Maru Amen. Yehi Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya V'Chaim Aleinu V'Yokol Yisrael V'Maru Amen. Osei Shalom Imramav Huya Aseh Shalom, Aleinu v'Yakol Yisrael, B'Maru, Amen. Amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to bring among us, and we say together, Amen. Amen. The congregation remains standing. We're going to continue with Kiddush and Motzi. ויהי ערב ויהי בוקר יום השישי ויחולו השמיים והארץ וכל צבאם ויחול אלוהים ביום השביעי מלאכתו אשר עשה וישבות ביום השביעי מכל מלאכתו אשר עשה ויברך אלוהים את יום השביעי וקדש אותו כי בו שבת מכל מלאכתו אשר ברא אלוהים לעשות ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם בורא פרי הגפן
Amen.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר קידשנו את מצוותיו ורצה בנו בשבת קודשו באהבה ורצון התחילנו זיכרון למעשה בראשית כי הוא יום תחילה למקרא קודש זכר ליציאת מצרים כי
בנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים בשבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו
ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת
אמן.
לחיים
חיים.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם המוציא לחם מן הארץ אמן
עושה שלום במרומה הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל באמרו אמן עושה שלום במרומה הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל באמרו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ואמרו אמן. Last time, עושה שלום במרומה הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל באמרו אמן.
Shkoach. Like Phil Collins
Thank you to our amazing band members and Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Woo!
You can find him at Granville Island later. A little busking. Yes, on the bus with the violinist. Huh? Between the third? And the third? I know.
What dogs? I need to.
I'm there every Saturday at 11 if you want to come play.
Shell and what?
Shell and what would be Francis, but it's not really Francis, it's another
Where it
trail.
starts.